What's up? Jeff from RetroArcadeGaming.com back with another edition of Port Battles. In this series, we look at a specific classic arcade game and see how well or poorly it's been ported to various home console and computer systems over the years. This week, we look at another classic Nintendo game, and more importantly, the first game to feature the now iconic character Luigi, none other than Mario Brothers, or Mario Bros, depending on your preference, released by Nintendo in 1983. Mario Brothers features simultaneous co-op play for 2 players. The goal of the game is to rid the sewers of all the creatures, which include the Shell Creeper, Sidestepper, Fighter Fly, and the Slip Ice. Unlike later Mario games, you can't jump on top of your enemies. You must hit them from underneath to flip them over, then kick them off the screen. If you wait too long before kicking the enemy off the screen, he will right himself, change color, speed up, and continue on his way. The Sidestepper takes 2 hits from below to flip, and the Fighter Fly jumps and can only be flipped while touching a platform. There's a POW button that flips all of the enemies touching a platform. It can be used 3 times before disappearing. Finally, there's a bonus round that allows you to collect coins without enemies within a certain amount of time for extra points. If you linger on a level too long, fireballs will appear that bounce around the screen and must be avoided. Later levels also feature icicles that form and fall loose. They must be avoided at all costs, obviously. Let's get started. Take a look at the original arcade version of Mario Brothers via MAME. Up first, the Atari 2600 port, released by Atari Soft in 1983. I've got mixed opinions on this one. Obviously, it doesn't look great due to the limited capabilities of the 2600 itself. Mario doesn't look too bad, but the rest of the characters in playfield just don't have a great deal of depth to them. There's no intermission scenes. The lack of depth and those missing scenes really isn't unexpected for the 2600 with its limited ROM capabilities. Having said that, the game actually plays very well. It's easy to look back at the 2600 now, complain about the graphics and sound, but back in the day, this was an awesome port. It's not a bad game to play on it. The Atari 5200 port was released by Atari themselves in 1983. Another mixed bag port for me. It obviously looks better than the 2600 port by a long shot, but falls a bit short in graphics. The sounds aren't bad, not great either. Despite the so-so graphics and sound, similar to the 2600 port, this one actually plays very well. The Apple II port is interesting in that it was never officially released. It was developed by AtariSoft in '83, made its way to Apple II enthusiasts via a leaked prototype or beta. It was then distributed amongst Apple II users via bulletin boards and the good old floppy disk. You'll see some references to it actually being released by AtariSoft. That's not the case. Regardless, for an Apple II title, it looks phenomenal. There's a lot of graphic detail, and it plays very similar to the arcade game. One thing that's important to me is the way the enemies react when struck from certain angles. In some ports, it doesn't matter. The enemy will always fly straight up and flip over. However, in the actual arcade game, they will fly straight up, left, or right, depending on the angle you hit them from. The Apple II port replicates that very well. Intermission scenes, obviously missing, as they are in most of these early ports. In the sound department, it's a typical Apple II port, which means there's not much to write home about. Despite the lacking sounds, this is an excellent port for the Apple II. The lone clone comes in the form of Drain Mania for the BBC Micro, released by Icon Software in 1984. When you consider the platform, not bad, I guess. Certainly no mistaking that you're playing a Mario Brothers clone, even if it looks nothing like Mario himself. If you had a BBC Micro, wanted to play Mario Brothers, this was your game. The Commodore 64 got 2 ports of Mario Brothers. Atari released a port in '84, and Ocean released a port in '87. I actually prefer the Atari port over the Ocean port. We're going to take a look at both of them today just so you can make your own decisions. Up first, the Atari port looks very good graphically. Sounds are also well done, if not quite arcade accurate. Intermission scenes are missing, but that doesn't really make it too bad. It's still a quality port for the Commodore 64. Next, we'll take a look at the Ocean port from 1987. Doesn't play too poorly, but it lacks a lot of the detail that makes the Atari port a better port, in my opinion. Again, no intermission scenes in this port. Doesn't sound quite as good as the Atari port, in my opinion. You know, if your opinion is different, more power to you. If you like this version better, more power to you. Here's a look at the Ocean port for the Commodore 64. So now things get a little confusing. The US got a release of Mario Brothers for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1986. It was released in Japan for the Famicom in 83, later released in Europe under the Classic Series umbrella in 1993. The original US and Japan releases omit cutscenes, intermission scenes, whatever you want to call them. Those were added back in the 93 port for the European market. The NES port's probably the best looking ports we're going to look at. They don't sound too bad either. Here is the NES release from 1986 for the US market. Up next, we're going to take a look at the European port from 1993, which not only reintroduces the intermission scenes, but also has a bit better character definition, in my opinion. To throw on top of that, the Disk System add-on for the Famicom Disk System, also got a release of Mario Brothers entitled, and I'm gonna butcher this, Kaettekita Mario Brothers in 1988. Let me spell that for you. Kaettekita. The game was developed and published by Nintendo itself. Has two modes of play. Original mode, which plays like you would expect. It plays like the original arcade game. Does add a few new levels. Improves the graphics a bit, music a bit, and allows for the saving of high scores. The biggest difference is the inclusion of advertisements for other Mario games and a Japanese food company whose name I am not going to try to pronounce because you heard me butcher the name of this title. There is also a mode named after that food company, Nagatanian, close enough, mode. Plays similar, allows for continues via a slot machine minigame after you lose all your lives. It also had some mail-in promotions if you reached a specific amount of points for Mario cards, free game, things like that. We're going to take a look at it quickly at the original mode with the pre-game promotion. Ocean released a port for the ZX Spectrum in '87. It's not going to wow you visually with its limited color palette, nor audibly with almost non-existent sounds. The Atari 2600 port didn't wow you visually either, but at least it's fun to play. Same can't really be said for the Spectrum port. The hit detection is awful, makes for a port that simply isn't a whole lot of fun to play. I apologize to my ZX Spectrum fans out there. I know they're very passionate about their platform. This is not a port you want for it. The Amstrad Color PC got a port from Ocean in '87. Like other Ocean ports, it's okay. Nothing spectacular. The sounds are almost non-existent, and the game lacks the detail of some other ports. It's hard as hell to control as well. The Atari 7800 port was released by Atari themselves in '88. Looks okay graphically. Some reason the shell creepers kind of look like ducks to me. Lacks some detail that would have made it an excellent port, including the intermission scenes. Sounds are decent, not great. Again, like the other Atari port, actually plays very well though. The Atari 8-bit system got a port by Atari, which was developed by Sculptured Software in '88. Released primarily for the XE lineup of Atari machines, it was backwards compatible with the Atari XL, let's say that. I'm starting to sound a little bit like a broken record. It's not going to wow you graphically. It just doesn't look that great with rather crude graphics. The sounds are decent, but here's the important part in my opinion. It's one of the few titles that faithfully recreates the intermission scenes. And like all of the other Atari port, it plays very nicely despite the average appearance. I should note that there is also a straight-up port of the Atari 5200 release for the 8-bit systems. We're not going to take a look at that today. There's a freeware port available for MS-DOS entitled Mario Brothers VGA, which was released by Dave Sharpless in 1990. It doesn't have a whole lot going on sound-wise. Graphically, not great. It's colorful. It's got that going for it. Difficult to control, making it not much fun to play. if you had an e-reader for your Game Boy Advance, you could buy the classic NES series card packs, with one of the releases being Mario Brothers. This was a straight-up port of the earlier NES release and was released in 2002. Unfortunately, emulating e-card games, not the easiest thing to do, not the prettiest thing to do, so the presentation on this one kind of sucks, but here you go anyway. The e-card reader version of Mario Brothers for the Game Boy Advance. So, Nintendo, in order to capitalize on every dollar they could get, took those same e-reader classics, released them in cartridge form. In the US, we didn't get Mario Brothers as one of our releases. However, it was released in Japan in 2004. A port of the NES port of a port, was made available to the Nintendo Wii Virtual Console in 2006, straight up clone of the original NES release. CollectorVision Games released a homebrew for the ColecoVision in 2009. This one looks very good, sounds good. Intermission scenes from the arcade game are replicated, which is always a nice touch. For me, the gameplay is a tad bit slow, but other than that, very solid effort. So, there's a couple Mario titles floating around for some other systems that may confuse you with their names. They have little to no resemblance to the actual Mario Brothers arcade game. First, a title called Mario Brothers Special, released by the awesome Hudson Soft in 1984. It was released primarily on computer systems, including the PC-66, PC-88, FM7, Sharp X1, few others. You play as Mario. You have to navigate your way through 4 levels. Just for kicks, we're going to take a look at it. So you say, hey, you didn't include Mario Brothers Special. Well, I'm going to include it. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the arcade version of Mario Brothers. Platform of choice for this one's going to be the Sharp X1. So, Hudson Soft also released in '94 a game entitled Punchball Mario Brothers. Again, primarily for the same computer systems with a few additions and subtractions. Bears a bit more resemblance to the actual arcade game in level design. But instead of hitting enemies from below to stun them, you chuck a punch ball at them to stun them. It's pretty lame, not a whole lot of fun. Today, let's just take a look at the Fujitsu FM7 version for kicks or punches. So as we round out this episode, we're going to look at a couple of different ways that Nintendo repackaged Mario Brothers with other games. If you had a Game Boy Advance and the game Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, you were given the option on the start menu to play Mario Brothers Classic. Gameplay is the same as the arcade version of Mario Brothers, but the graphics have been updated significantly. My complaint with this new version is that it scrolls from top to bottom, and the entire playfield isn't visible at once. The same version was also included on all 4 Super Mario Advance games for the Game Boy Advance. Here's a look at Mario Brothers Classic from the game Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Super Mario Bros. 3 on the Super Nintendo featured a battle mode. Looked and played very similar to the arcade classic, but the goal was to destroy the other player with the on-screen enemies. Not really a port. Looks very similar, so we're going to throw it in here. What the hell? Finally, several NES classic games were available in the Nintendo GameCube game, Animal Crossing. One of these games was Mario Brothers, straight up port of the original NES release. I'll admit, did not play Animal Crossing long enough to acquire this catalog item. I'm using somebody else's save state. I don't have the patience to play Animal Crossing. I got my own damn weeds outside. I don't need to pull them in a video game. Anyway, here's a look at Mario Brothers being played within the GameCube game Animal Crossing. That's it. Wrapping up our look at Mario Brothers ports, clones, and homebrews. Best version, in my opinion, is the 93 European only release for the NES that remains faithful to the original and includes all of the intermission screens. The 2009 ColecoVision homebrew, probably my next favorite, and while the Atari ports don't necessarily look all that great, they all play very well. We got a request for Pac-Man next, which, as you can imagine, probably be a pretty daunting task. I'll put it together as quickly as I can, but it may take a bit longer than normal. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Until next time, happy gaming. Peace.